titled The Hardest Word. Please give a warm welcome to Toastmaster Charlie Wachowski.
Recently, I was attacked by a dog. I was out for my morning run on the downs when suddenly a dog jumped up and tried to push me over. Actually, probably it's more like down here, but for dramatic effect, he was up here. I managed to force the dog off me, and he was back on the floor, and the owner came round the corner and mumbled an apology. My adrenaline was flowing, and I remonstrated with the owner. Not harshly, but enough. And the owner looked at me and said, quite indignantly, "But I said I was sorry." Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and very welcome guests, for me that was a fantastic example of the misuse of the word sorry. And that's what I want to talk about tonight. The example that I just gave you is what I call the blocker or the shield. What that person, that dog walker did was go like this. I said sorry, so you can't get me. You can't come back at me. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to consider the use of this word sorry. And I want to see the places that we get it wrong. But I also want to see when we get it right and just how powerful it can be. So let's take the word sorry and let's consider what are the purposes of saying sorry. Why do we use this word? It's one of the 5 first words we learn. Yes, no, please, thank you, sorry. Any thoughts? Any ideas? Why do we get people to say sorry?
They've hurt us.
Because they've hurt us. Anything else? Any other reasons? Because they've done something wrong.
Take responsibility.
That's the one for me, man. The main reason I think we say sorry or ask people to say sorry is so that they take responsibility. You know, I could have said, "I'm sorry I kicked your dog." The other reason is to empathise. It's a lot better to come home from work and say to your wife, "Oh, I'm sorry you've had a bad day. Should we go out for dinner?" Rather than, "Oh, dear, it's for tea." Now, I have been thinking about when we get it wrong. I gave you an example there. I want to give you another example. In a wonderful book, the social anthropologist Kate Fox did a fantastic and very interesting, quite a brave experiment, which actually I'd quite like to reenact here. If I could just have a volunteer, one person who, please, come on up. You could just stand over there by the good doctor. And now just walk towards him. Now our doctor, our social anthropologist, did that 100 times in Waterloo Station one afternoon. And she recorded the results. The results showed that in 95% of the cases, the person who she bumped into said, sorry. Thank you very much. If you want to know why, there's another way that we get it wrong, in my view. I said earlier, we say sorry or we ask people to say sorry. And that, for me, is a bit of a shocker. When we ask other people to say sorry. Some of you students, sixth formers, you may have had that experience or you may have noticed it in school, in your class. You can't come back into my lesson until you've said sorry. Parents, I'm a parent myself, we do it. You need to apologise to your brother. Now what happens if someone else tells us to say sorry? The thing that Amanda said about taking responsibility, how does that help us to take responsibility? See if you nod, a few shakes. In my view, it doesn't. What it does is it disempowers. And it builds up frustration and anger and annoyance. And then the students, the youngsters, they learn that special way to say sorry, which says the word sorry, but it sounds like something completely different. How does that sound? Anyone do it for me?
Yes, sorry.
Sorry. Sorry. It's easy, isn't it? I convey it, but I'm not doing it. So much for getting it wrong. What about getting it right? And what about the power of the word sorry? Now, in the last 20 years or so, many countries that have gone from having a dictatorship, moving towards a democracy, have used as part of their transition something called a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. You have one in South Africa, didn't you? And a lot of other countries in South America, in Asia. Central to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission was the idea that you would get the henchmen, you know, the soldiers, the secret police, the people who were responsible for these terrible actions. You'd get them to come up, to confess what they did, to say where the bodies were, and to say sorry. It was a vital part of the healing process. Many years ago I was in Chile and I met some people. I met some family members of victims of the dictatorship there. And the conversations with them showed that they couldn't move on until they had the apology. They were stuck, they were in stasis. The apology didn't solve all their problems. It didn't make everything go away, but what it did do, it allowed them to draw a line under something and to move on. And it was a vital part of the healing. So we've seen we can get apologies massively wrong, but we can also get apologies right. And if we get them right, they're like medicine. In the right quantity, in the right way, they have got incredible curative and healing powers. So my encouragement to you all, fellow Toastmasters and welcome guests, is let's take back the word sorry, let's take ownership of it, and let's use it correctly. Let's, from tomorrow, when we go out, let's listen to how we say sorry, and let's listen to how other people say sorry. Let's use it appropriately, and let's use it well. If we use it well, it will be a marvellous tool. If we use it badly, it will be, as I say in the title of my speech, and as Elton John said, it will be the hardest word. My wife suggested that I should sing that last line to you. And then I genuinely would have had a good reason to apologise.